Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video I will be explaining the next data type in our category, which is list, and the operations that can be performed on list, and one more data type, that is tuples. Let's start with the tutorial. Let's start with list. List is an ordered collection of data types. It is similar to that of arrays in other programming languages like C, C++, and Java. The difference between arrays and list is that array is an ordered collection of similar data type elements, whereas a list is an ordered collection of different data type elements. Let us see how to create a list. Simply create a variable. The name of the variable can be any, and it should follow the variable naming rules, and assign it to the list of items. The list of items are specified within the open and closed square brackets, and each item is separated by a comma operator. Let's see with an example. Here I am creating a list of numbers, and if you hit enter, a new list with a name called L is created, and it has values 1, 2 and 3, 4. If we print the list, we'll get the items that are present in the list. This is how we create lists. As I said earlier, we can have different types of data in a list. Let us see that with an example. Here I am creating another list called L1, and I am assigning an integer, a string and a floating value. Let us see that. Here we have created a list called L1, and we have values 1 integer value, and hello a string, and 4.2 a floating value. If we print the list, we can get the values that are present in the list. Let us see how to access the values that are present in a list and how to update the values. Here keep a point in mind that the indexing starts with 0, 1 and so on. So if we refer to 0, then it prints the first element in the list, and if we refer to 1, then it prints the second element in the list. Let us see with example. Here the name of the list followed by an open bracket and the index value that we need and a close bracket. L1 of 1, which pretty much prints hello. This is how we access a list. Let us see how to update a value in a list. Let us see. Here I am accessing the same index, and I am changing the value. Instead of hello, I am going to replace with PCPY, and that's how we update. If we print the list, now we have the modified value in the list. This is how we access and update values in a list. Like how we use the splice operator in splicing the strings, in the similar manner we can splice a list. Let's see with an example. Use the splice operator. A value that is before the operator specifies the starting, and the value that is next to the splice operator is the point at which we have to stop. Let's say 1 and followed by 2. If we print it, it prints only the second value because it starts at the index 1, which is PCPY, and stops at the index value 2. This is how we splice a part of a string. In the similar manner, using the splice operator, we can update multiple values at once. Let's say if we want to modify the first and second element, then let us see with an example. Here we are specifying the first element, so the starting index will be 0 followed by, and we are trying to modify the second element also, so we'll place a value of 2. So it starts with a 0, it means 1, and followed by 1 and stops at 2. Then we'll assign the new values. Let's say 2 followed by, it may be any value, not the specific value what we have assigned earlier. Let us print the list again. We have successfully updated the first two values in the list. And one more thing we can do with the splice operator is that we can delete the first two elements. Let's see. Not only first two elements, we can erase multiple values from the list using the splice operator at once. Here I am erasing or deleting only the first element, so I am specifying the index starting with 0 and it should stop at 1. And how to delete is that simply specify empty list. If we print the list again, we can see that the first element 2 is successfully removed from the list. Here I have specified a list without any values, that means it is an empty list. Yeah, we can create empty list in Python and we can update later on. Let's see with an example. Here I am creating a list called L2 and I am not assigning any value. Simply I have specified the open and close square brackets, which pretty much creates an empty list. If we print L2, it prints an empty list. Later on in the program, wherever we need, we can update the list L2. We can also create a nested list, that is a list within another list. Let's see with an example. Here I am creating a list named L3 and I am going to assign the values for the outer list first. Let's say 1, 2 and followed by, I am going to provide values for the inner list. Let's say we'll have some strings. We have successfully created a nested list. Let us see how to access the elements that are present in a nested list. If we want to refer to the outer list, we simply refer using the index value like in normal list. If we print L3 of 1, we will get a value of 2. And if we want to get the values of the inner list, let's say the indexing starts with 0, 1 and this entire list index is 2 and the list inner index starts with 0. If you can't understand, let's see with an example. Let's say we are accessing the inner list. As I said, the inner list index is 2 and if we want to access the inner list value, let's say PCPY, and the inner list index is 1 for PCPY. This is how we access inner list and this is how we create nested list and access it. In the similar manner, how we updated the values in normal list, we can also update the values of nested list. Let me tell you one more thing. Len function is used to count the number of elements that are present in the list. Let's say I am counting the number of elements in the list L2. If we print it, it returns a value of 0 because we have created an empty list. If we check the length of, let's say, L1, will get the value of 2 because at the end, after last modification, we have two values present in the list. So len function is used to count the number of items that are present in the list. That's all for this video, guys. I will continue with the operations that can be performed on the list in the next tutorial, and I will be explaining tuples also in the next tutorial. Thanks for watching the video. Get subscribed and I will continue in the next video.